think sometimes when we bring up the history like you've just done, because as we lawyers say, it's on all fours. This is exactly what she was talking about when she was a civil society person, our sister in arms. And since she left us, I have to say, I consider her still a good friend, but she has changed. We all have this hope that the values we hold, the principles we hold will follow us, and that when you get into the position where you can actually effect the things that you've said, you will not become what you have ever criticized. And it's unfortunate that over and over again, we get disappointed because Jean Mensa, the one who said what you said, is today the one doing the direct opposite and not even giving us the respect of explaining herself. But let's leave a person out. Now, it is beyond the issue of dignity. So dignity is actually a constitutional issue where any public officer does anything that detracts or allows anything to be done. This is the law on which pan latrines were banned.
That's right.
Where a public officer allows things to be done which detract or remove or reduce the dignity of a Ghanaian, it's unconstitutional and actionable. That's one. That's allowing. Now, where you are not just allowing, but you are the one actually causing it to be done, that is commission. You are actually guilty of causing that. That's a very serious matter. And it is entirely arguable that what Jean Mensa and the EC are doing is acts of commission using state resources to cause people, okay, to act in indignified ways and to, affect them in all kinds of ways. Then beyond that, look, Article 42 of this Constitution makes use of the word rights, that you have a right to vote. And we've had cases like that where one person stopped the whole voting process. Right. I'm saying all these things because they are serious.
The Ayimensas of this country, the Tenades of this country.
Tenades, there's a lot of rights. Then beyond that rights, on the issue of registration, it says entitled. An entitlement is a fundamental right. You are entitled. When you stretch the entitled, what it means is you can sleep in your house and ask to be registered, which is why as a country, and some of us have been part of this argument for many years, that at the time we started doing voter registration, we did not have the necessary institutions to make that a normal, continuous process. So after 30 years or so, we have come up with the National Identification Authority. You know the arguments and the fight we've had. We've spent millions of dollars and many years. We have today in this country a system that is capable of giving effect to the entitlement to register, such that when the person hits 18 years, that entitlement can be given effect. It's self-executing, so that once he has a Ghana card with his date of birth and everything on it, and he hits 18, it is automatic. The person can opt out of it. But the system must give effect to the entitlement and register. What I'm saying is that Jean Mensa and the EC today do not have a constitutional reason why they should subject this country to even an elections or a voter registration arrangement when we have the National Identification Authority. They are a commission. The NIA is an authority. In law, there's a difference. Okay. So to then wrestle to yourself something which constitutionally you should not have. And one of these days, we are going to have to go to court and have these things sorted out. But in any case,
the EC was in Parliament seeking to be given the opportunity to do the process of registration and continuous registration using the Ghana card as the sole identifier. The reason that is botched now is because suggestions for it to allow for minor changes, an amendment, because at the time he wanted to implement it, there were a good number of Ghanaians who didn't have their cards. As we speak, they still don't have them, and there were financial challenges to the producers of the card. So you can't really blame them on that score, right?
No, I remember, and honestly, it is my view, and if we have time, I'll argue that out very well, that the EC did not need Parliament to authorize that process. They didn't need Parliament. Look, Article 45 says that the Electoral Commission shall have the function to compile. It never said they should go and register people. In the process of compilation, you might register. But again, a commission in the hierarchy of authorities is less than an authority. All right. Now, so the National Identification Authority is higher in order than a commission, number one. Number two, it is an electoral commission, not a registration commission. So to that extent of registration or compiling of register, if even the NIA was a National Identification Commission, because it is specific for identification, it will have a better legal authority to do registration and that stuff for EC to use it. Okay, but it is an identification authority. My argument is that 45 requires the EC to compile the register of voters from the list of the NIA. You don't need Parliament to do that.
All right.
And what we said was that at the time, all the money that was being wasted by the EC, you remember the last election cycle, we took them on several levels. That should be used to empower the NIA so that at the end of the period, when there's time for election, they just draw it. Whoever is 18 period, you go with your Ghana card, they put it in a machine, it can show your age, A, B, C, D, E. So back to the point. It is entirely arguable that the EC doesn't have the mandate to do what it is doing. If it takes somebody going to court to sort it out, we'll do it. But the point I was making is that I have gone to court. I have won a case that the EC should publish accounts of political parties. It's been many years now. They've refused to do it. And it means I have to go and try to do execution. So people are just
as for winning cases against the EC, exactly. And it not doing what the court has said. Let's not get there, because you know that I have done a similar case like that in which we cited them for contempt. My client cited them for contempt. The court spared them. They came and pleaded that they should be given extension of time and they will lay a constitutional instrument for the implementation of the diaspora votes. Well, here we are.
Same story. So something to finish my point. See,
right.
When you are a state institution and people use the law, take time, expense, and go through the legal process, and we obtain orders against you, but you refuse to let the law work, you make resistance, unlawful or extrajudicial resistance, inevitable.
Kofi, we are in the process. What can the EC do at this point? Is it your suggestion that even while the process is going on at the 268 districts, it has a room to listen to the various calls and expand the process? And remember, as you compared it to the authority, the EC is a constitutional, independent constitutional body. So that is far above and ahead of the authority. So what's my question? What should they do now, practically?
Well, what they should do is simple. Take exactly what Jean Mensah said in those years and apply it. Exactly, word to word. One, they shouldn't have done that, but that conversation, we should have it. Like I said, Imani has stressed himself about it. It wasn't taken up. We are back here. But we should have that conversation. Right now, what they should do is use all other means to effect people's right to register.
Okay.
6,000 different centers. You can do it in any way. But restricting is actually taking steps to stop people or prevent people, okay, or compress on that right. So all the EC has to do is actually stop resisting, okay, the advice of Jean Mensah when she was a civil society activist. Just open up the registration, let people register, and just do your work well. If you listen to some of the problems that they were having, equipment problems, this and that, after spending millions of dollars, it seems like somebody really has decided that we're going to have an accident.
Let me take your mind briefly on this, because that has become another angle of the discussion. We have heard, significant persons, even in the media. We have heard Randy Abe, we have heard Titus Glover, Nana Akomia, Kwesi Pratt Jr., Professor Kwekwaza, the rest of them. They are pained at what is going on, and they say it's a bad treatment of the citizens, and they have denounced the EC's conduct, including one particular statement by Dr. Eric Bosman-Asare that voting is not by force or compulsory. So what's the big deal, really? Some say this particular conduct, where if you take Article 45E, it says the EC shall, that's mandatory, undertake expansion of the registration of voters. This is not expansion. it doesn't help. If you take the CI 19, CI 19 regulation 222, I think, says that when it is designating the centers,
191, not 19. CI 191.
CI 191, thank you. When it is designating the centers, it should consider the suitability of the place it is designating for the registration for a polling station and the accessibility of that place to people. They put all these things together and say, why not? In this circumstance, we can activate Article 146 and seek the removal of those commissioners, including that comment, because that is misbehavior, incompetence, or inability to perform your office arising from infirmity of body or mind. What do you say?
I totally agree. In fact, I've opened 19. I was going to make the same point that you made, that they are under a constitutional injunction to expand, undertake programs. So there's omission and commission. Where you are set up and financed to do something, not doing it is grounds for removal. Now, in this particular case, omission and commission, it is not a matter of just omitting, like they are not doing anything. The suggestion is that there will be problems with people exercising their right to register. The EC was set up to take away those problems, clear the way, and create situations that will enable people to register. So they should actually do things, commit actions that will expand registration. In this case, if you're not doing it at all, then you are omitting to do your job. But as far as I'm concerned, they are actually taking steps, committing actions to stop people from registering, which is directly against what they are doing. Okay? And for me, it's nefarious. It is the use of state resources to defeat the ends of public policy. And to the extent that my own brother Bossman, vents it, he voices it, he speaks these things, which are quite reckless for somebody at his level, it is sufficient grounds, and I will not be surprised. I will not be surprised if somebody takes this up and says that by virtue of things you have done to restrict registration, actions you have taken to disenfranchise people, you are not fit for your office. I don't see how that will be resisted if that issue comes up. So look, we should all be minded when we do some of these things. And look, we are trying, like you're saying, Sule said, we've run this thing for 30 years. We've come to a point where we need to start refining, the edges and then making things better. But you find people with a tendency to try and create situations that more or less set us back, and we endanger this democracy. Look at what is going on all around. We have a lot of young people who have not seen a coup before, and they look at what is going on and they ask themselves, why is this a better solution? We should try something else. And all of us keep advising them that, no, this is the best we should do. It is actions like what is going on now with the EC and other places, okay, that give people a certain sense that, well, if you're not going to do the right thing, we might as well throw it away